Welcome back to our next segment. I now have two new people.
You do.
Brendan Watt and Tupa Oksal. Thank you for being here.
Hello, world.
Hello.
Hi.
So this chapter is all about caring. And what if caring were the core of you? And there's so much in here, but I would just like to ask, where would you like to start with this whole topic, the tools that we just heard Dane reading from the book? Such a different space of what is true caring.
Yeah. You going?
I mean, I thought I don't have caring because I've been told so all my life. Because caring was to give everyone what they want from me. It wasn't about me, you know, and I was always wrong because I was really living my life and enjoying it. I was going out, dancing, traveling, paying too much money to clothing and jewelry, etc. I was always wrong. I was too much laughing, too much a slut, because I was enjoying life, you know. I was always wrong. So after a while, I said, okay, I think I have to change. I need to change. I need to be more considerate, you know.
To others.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Wow.
Because it was not nice. Me just living my life for myself, caring for myself, it was so wrong. I was not from this world, and I was a shame for my family.
Yeah.
So I tried their ways. I tried to cut out everything about me. I stopped laughing too loud, and I started to laugh like this, you know, so I don't bother anyone. So I got married, so they can be happy. I worked for really big corporate companies because I should. But I was miserable.
Yeah, it's all these check boxes again. Like all of these should.
Yeah. And then one day I said, enough is enough. I'm out of here. But not cancer. Because I thought the only way I get out of everything I don't want to be in was to get ill and die.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know better, you know. I didn't have the tools. And one night, I was crying like crazy and swearing to God. I said, hey, give me my miracle, otherwise I'm out of here. And now, when I'm there, if you exist, I'm going to beep, 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 you know. And the next day, someone sent me a message, was saying, hey, I know you are looking for a cure because I got myself sick, of course. Yeah. And she said, I'm doing something called access bars, and I can help you. I was like, this spiritual shits again, you know, because I did everything under the sun, and it never worked. But suddenly, I started to smile, like, you know, and I was like, okay, I'm not smiling for the last 2 years, and I was bedridden, in pain. Oh, maybe this is my miracle. So I called her, and I got my first access bar session. After that, everything changed. And I didn't believe it. And I questioned, I doubt, you know, for, I don't know, a couple of months. And I said, no, this is something medical. Only medicine can solve this. But it wasn't, because it was my choice to get out of here so I can get rid of everything, all the judgments or structures or control. I would either live the life the way I want to, or I would go. I was ready. And when I read the book and watched Dr. Dane's videos, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. There are more people in the world like this, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't know I have caring. I didn't know that, but now I know I have. And having these tools and getting to know myself every day more and more, that knowing I have caring, actually.
Yeah. Well, this chapter so invites us all to look at that one of the things we've made ourselves wrong is thinking that we're not caring, or that we have
Yeah.
to shut it off
Yeah.
to protect ourselves, or when we get hurt, that's like our go-to is, well, then I need to cut off my caring, I'm supposed to. When as the infinite, beautiful beings we are, can we ever cut off that caring? And when we try to cut it off or act like we have to, or that we don't have it, functioning from that fundamental lie, it's like it twists everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the interesting thing too, listening to that, we come in knowing what caring is, we have so much of that, and then judgment becomes a part of it, and it's like with what Tugba said of, people couldn't control her basically with that much caring. So then it's like, you're being too much, you're living too much, you're having too much joy, and we start making that judgment real and start cutting that off and modulating ourselves based on everybody else. And that's the thing I love about Access, is it's like you come in knowing basically everything that's true for you. And then you unlearn that and replace that with everything that you've decided you need to have based on what everybody else says is true. And then Access is about, hey, let's empower you to know what's actually true for you again. And that's such a gift.
Well, how with this, you both talked about caring for us. And I think one of the...
I'm definitely still learning that one.
Right?
Me too, yeah.
And this
But I love
is so
you to-
on point to this topic, because I read this 3 times before, in the last few days, and I was like, holy shit, this so speaks to everything basically going on in my world, but I think we can all relate to it.
Yeah.
I think for anyone who's read that chapter, you can pick bits of that out and go, yep, that's kind of where I'm at too. And because the caring never stops. It's not, you get to a point where you go, oh, I finally care for me. There's always more. Mm-hmm. And I know for me, it's been an interesting journey, that one. As a kid, it was like, caring for others, I had that down. That was, I remember as a kid when I was in grade 1 at school, and I cried every day, from whatever. It was just, I was so sensitive to the world around me. And, and I was at school and I was just crying under a tree, just sitting on my own, a loner, and which I still kind of am. But it's like, but I was sitting there crying, and I thought to myself, at 5, I don't remember a day where I haven't cried. And I remember that day because I remember something shifted in my world. And because one of the things we talk about is you make one decision, and then you have to stick to that. It can cause you a lot of grief, basically. But for me, it was, okay, this doesn't work. I don't have any friends. Nobody sees me. I feel too different. I feel wrong. I don't feel accepted. And so from that point forward, it was like, okay, how do I once again adjust myself to fit everybody else? So that thing of caring for you, like caring for me, has just been, what? Like, where do you begin with that? And that's the thing about that for me, is it's a journey unique to each and every one of us. It's not, here's how you care for yourself. It's, what is that for you? And I love that question that Dan uses in the book of, if I were truly caring for me and the world today, what would I choose right away? Because those 2 bits together, if I was truly caring for me and the world, if we don't include the world, we're not actually caring for us anyway. Mm-hmm. And for most of us, what we think is, well, let me shut the world out, which I was doing as that 5-year-old kid. Let me shut the world out so I can figure out what this caring for me thing is. And in doing that, and I see for me throughout my life in where I've chosen that, it's everything that goes against everything that I am. Yeah. And that's the other part with that too, is you cannot have joy without caring for you.
I loved that. One of the quotes in the book, like, caring for you and joy go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And if you look at that little boy under the tree, we talked a lot about
Such a
lowering
cute
our
little
walls
kid.
and barriers.
Right,
But I could just
It's
perceive
gonna
the
be okay.
energy of that, right? And then it's that choice to go, I have been so aware and sensitive, so somehow maybe putting these walls in place is going to protect me or help me care for me, because this hasn't worked. But it's like we come to those quick, real conclusions.
Yeah.
And what if we could flip that?
Totally. And that's what I love about, accessing the tools. And it's like for I think pretty much for all of us, and listening to this now, it's like, who wasn't sensitive or who isn't sensitive with the awareness they have of the world, but nobody talks about it. And as a kid, when you don't have the tools and you might not have somebody around you being like, like giving you a hug and being like, hey, you're going to get through this. Yeah. You're going to learn more about you, and you're going to have more tools to deal with this. There's going to be things show up. You're going to have hard times, but you're also going to have amazing times. And, that empowerment. But what the go-to kind of thing is, well, let me create an insular universe. Let me create some universe that I can control so that I can actually still have some sense of me, which doesn't work very well.
Doesn't work very well.
Yeah. And I remember when I was a kid, my parents would fight a lot, and there was violence, and I would always try to make them joyful and happy. No matter what happens at home, I would be always joyful and happy, But I couldn't do it, I couldn't change their reality. I couldn't change their perspective. I couldn't do anything for them. Then after a while, I was like, okay, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And it took a while, to shut off my joy. But when I had my joy and happiness, even though I wasn't earning much, I had everything I want in life. And people were asking me, do you have a sugar daddy? How do you do that? I was like, no, I don't have it. I do everything by myself, No, I don't. I'm doing by myself. But they didn't believe me. I always had abundance, and something was gifted, or, everything was amazing. When I started to shut off my joy and happiness, the zest for life, everything went downhill.
Yeah.
And it was the point where I decided I'm wrong. I should be the way my parents or friends like me to be. After that, I was done. I wasn't existing in this world anymore.
Yeah.
There was no tuba.
I hear you, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that, you mentioned family and parents and kids, and one of the things in the book that Dane talks about is, I think we all remember being a teenager or a younger child and going, I don't care. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
And really, how much do you care about exactly what you're saying you don't care about? I don't care, but like if that teenage age where everything, like friends, boyfriends, image, like all of it, you just don't know what to do with it. And this response of, I don't care. Yeah. And everywhere we cut ourselves off when we decide we don't care, we're how much do you actually? Can you guys talk about, you mentioned access bars, and if you guys are watching today, it's come up a couple times, but please explore this beautiful light touch technique on the head that contributes so much to everything we're talking about today, to being you. If you go to accessconsciousness.com/bars, you can find out more about it. There's Dane's beautiful access bars story in the book. But can you talk a little bit about access bars and how that opened up caring, like truly caring for you and what that is?
I think it was the first step for me to start caring for myself again, to choose to get that session with a little money I have, and after that, choosing foundation changed my life, actually. I said, oh my God, each and every question I've been asking since my childhood, a guy just thought of them and he found the answers and put them in a manual and gave me in a silver platter, I was like, oh my God. I was like this every day in foundation class. Oh, yes. Oh my God, yes. I wasn't able to sit still. And after that, I couldn't stop exploring tools. And what was different for me, because I did so many things, and I did professional coaching for 4 years, there was always something missing. The missing part was access showed me that I don't have anything to fix. You know, there's nothing wrong with me or my choices. There's nothing to fix or change in that matter. And I can stop searching for problems and the defects I have, and I can stop judging myself.
Yeah.
That's the start of caring, I think. Stop judging yourself. And then one said in a video, because I watched 330 videos after my first session, and I didn't get all of it, but I was like this, yes, I don't know what he said, but yes.
That lightness
Yeah.
that we've been talking about.
Yeah. And he said, the most rude thing you can do yourself is judging you. I was like, what? Rude? Am I being rude to myself? I did not know that. Because I learned that if I judge myself, so I can fix myself, so I can go better.
Yeah.
It was not true. It didn't work.
Yeah, how many of us have learned that? If I judge it correctly, I'll finally fix it. Or if I judge it enough, finally I'll fix it. And it never works.
No.
And it's also like this, for me, what I would do also is, let me basically hide most of the judgments from myself, because if I didn't notice them, if I could avoid them, then I wouldn't have to change them. But over the years, what I learned was it basically created the undercurrent of my life. You know, we talk about choices. It's not just the choices that you make that create your life. It's the space from which you choose it. So every one of those judgments that we have, everything that we avoid basically makes up for that space or lack thereof from which we choose. Like if you have the point of view about yourself, which I've had, kind of my biggest one my whole life, that was kind of one of those hidden things, was that I was just not enough. You know, that I just, this basic wrongness, like this, best way I could describe it is like this dirtiness of myself, you know, and it's like, so that was like, well, that's just there, you know, you just learn to live with that. But basically then everything became about choosing from that, choosing to either hide it or also try and prove that I wasn't it, you know, and I see how so many of us do this rather than just go, you know what, that's there. And for me, the not the easiest way, but probably the only way you can really change something like that is be really present with it. You know, and this is caring for you, is when you're willing to go, you know what, this is something I really don't want to look at, you know, and you might be terrified of looking at it. You might be really uncomfortable. It might be bringing up all your shit, but it's like, okay, I'm going to be here with this to the best of my ability, you know, and then you could use some of these tools that you've gotten today, like everything that allows this to exist and everything that keeps me avoiding this, I now destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys, povads and beyonds. But recognize there's always something beautiful underneath it. And that sounds like, it can almost sound like, oh yeah, like whatever. I don't usually say trust me, but trust me. You know, but there is, because it's the beauty. There's always a beautiful energy underneath it that is the thing that we're actually hiding from us.
That's a beautiful question too. What's the beautiful energy underneath this? So we'll get so stuck on the layer of the judgment or the wrongness that really asking what's the beautiful energy underneath is an amazing question.
Which is that thing of, you know, we talk about what if your greatest wrongness is your greatest strongness, is it's how much of our strength do we hide with what we keep avoiding, which is judgment, rather than just be, hey, this judgment's here, maybe be present with that too.
Yeah. You know, one of the things, and I took a note on the book. This is a quote from this chapter, and it says, most people have checked out of their entire lives based on this one thing, not wanting to acknowledge how much they care and how much people here refuse to receive and gift that caring.
Yeah.
So can you talk more about that? You know, we've told stories of being a kid, right? And this energy and wanting to gift and not feeling received,
Yeah.
or where we cut off or kind of check out from our lives based on that?
Yeah. And then I started to get that from outside instead of having for myself that caring and that joy for living, everything. It turned to like waiting for others' approval. You know, at that point, I wasn't me anymore.
Yeah, so how do you get out of that?
Thanks to Access Tools. And it literally helped me a lot to see how Gary, Dane, and you and other facilitators are vulnerable. You know, the things they are sharing in classes. And I did the hiding part for a while, even from Gary, Dane, and you guys. You know, I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to show
We
them.
found ya, found ya.
I didn't want to show the dirty parts, you know?
You love your dirty parts.
Oh, I know. Now I know.
So funny, you both meant that same word. Isn't
Yeah.
that funny?
Yeah.
Like that something's wrong, like fundamentally wrong and dirty with us.
I
Yeah.
waited
Like,
for a while for Gary and Dane to kick me out of Access, you know? But it didn't happen. They were all my judgments I bought from outside. They
Yeah.
weren't real. And I thought I don't have any talents and capacities. But now I can do simultaneous translation without any training. And I discovered so many talents and capacities thanks to Access Tools. You know, I started to know myself. It's really nice to meet me.
Wow.
And you guys, I'm so grateful, really. Whew.
Me too. And that thing also, you know, kind of like when you have the caring for people, and it's like, but if you do it from this space of I have caring for you, but I expect it in return, then if it's not returned, then you go into, you know, you go into judgment, or you go into the wrongness of you, which is, oh, you know, or you do the opposite, which is like, well, fuck you, then I won't care.
Yeah.
But in order to separate from anyone else, you have to create that separation from yourself first. And I've done this same thing with Gary, Dane, basically anyone in my life that's really close to me. That kind of like almost too much caring, too much closeness. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, how do I create the judgment to separate from that? You know, and it's not even a cognitive thing, but all of a sudden you realize, wow, there's that separation. And for most of us, well, I can definitely speak for myself with this and coming out of it a lot also, but separation has been far more comfortable as an energy for me. Separation, and also kind of like destructive, like the destructive energy as well, which is what judgment is, basically. Any judgment that you have of you is designed to destroy the oneness that you are, the being that you are. So for me, you know, I found anything that I could to create that separation, which was, in looking at it now and in all honesty, was found anything I could to create the separation from me.
Yeah. Well, I know in that energy of separation, getting angry,
Yeah.
upset, like all of those energies, it's like we're almost taught that's how we're supposed to react and respond.
Yeah.
And but if you didn't have to choose that and you looked for these energies underneath and didn't separate, like one of the most, I think the way he says it in the book is one of the most intimidating things in the world is to people that desire to intimidate or control, or the way is to not buy that reality and care so much for you that you're not going to buy into the separation or the anger or the hatred.
I used to use anger and fury because I learned that from my father. That meant I'm being strong and tough, you know. And last year I had a situation with someone I was working with, and if I had that before Access, I would go, "Blah," you know. Instead, I asked questions. And I asked, okay, do I need to do something here now? Nope. And I just asked, okay, universe, show me, how can I just get rid of this situation with ease?
Yeah.
And then suddenly she called me and she said, "Oh, I think that was it. Thank you for everything. Now I have to blah, blah." I was like, "Okay, thank you." And I didn't need to confront her or, do the talk. I didn't need it all. No, nothing. It was so much ease, and I don't need to use anger anymore.
Yeah.
That.
Oh, such a relief, right?
Yeah. And I want to say something too, just as kind of a sense of, like, if you're like, okay, what, but still like that, how do I get there? One of the things it says in it, it's not a how.
Yeah.
It really is making that demand of you, but also, and then asking the universe, be willing to do whatever it takes to have it. But also, one of the things I do as well is I really like to tap into the earth. I was here at lunch and I was not really feeling like me on Being Here Day at all. So I was like, okay, I'm going over to see the trees. And I might sound like a whack job right now, but that's okay. I am. But I was just holding the trees. And it's like, if anything's going to give you a sense of what's true for you, it's something that much more matches the vibration of who you are than looking to people of, please, can you help me? Can you show me what's in? And you're like, you walk away feeling more stuck because you went there looking for an answer. And so the more you can get out of that and be in, okay, like truly, what else is possible? And I love the part he says in there, if I was, he tells the story about having the friend, and it's flashing at me. I'm going to be quick. Having the friend that's, that didn't show up and stood him up basically. And he was like, hey, if I was being me right now, how would I respond to this?
Yeah.
And I know for me, if I'm actually willing to have the vulnerability with myself to ask that question, if I'm being me, I'm not reacting. I'm not judging. I'm care monster of the universe.
Yeah. That's a great question. Like, for you guys, before we go to the next segment, is that if I were truly caring for me here, what would I choose? How would I be with this situation or this person? Or take a few minutes and go sit up next to a tree if you could today, or put your feet in the grass wherever you are in the world. What a beautiful way to care for you and the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.